You've been doing things wrong, and I'm going to show you exactly what it is and how to fix it. This isn't about sensitivity settings or fancy attachments. It's about the small habits you've built without even noticing. In this video, I'll break down the 4 things holding you back: how you aim, how you move, and how you read the map. Let's start with the one mistake almost every casual player makes: crosshair placement. Crosshair placement is one of those things that seems small, but it changes everything. It's about where your crosshair is while you walk, run, or rotate around the map. Most players point it at the ground or slightly downward, thinking it gives them more vision or better awareness of the area. But what it actually does is slow down your ability to react. When your crosshair is pointed too low, you're adding extra steps before you can shoot. First, you spot the enemy. Then you flick your aim upward. Then you shoot. That delay? That's enough to get you killed by someone who had their crosshair at chest or head level the whole time. Pro players, especially in games like CSGO and Valorant, have this locked in. They pre-aim corners at head level. In CODM, you want to do the same. If you're turning a corner or running into a hot zone, your crosshair should be where an enemy's upper body is likely to appear. That way, when you ADS or hipfire, you're already locked in. Less adjusting, less time wasted, more wins. Try this. Next time you play, consciously keep your crosshair at chest to head level. Practice this every game until it becomes muscle memory. Don't wait until you see an enemy to start aiming. Aim. That's how you win gunfights consistently. Now let's talk about movement, or what I like to call your survival instinct. Call of Duty Mobile is a fast-paced game. If you're standing still, you're dead. Simple as that. The longer you stand still, the higher your chances of getting shot. Think about it like this. Every second you're not moving, you're making yourself an easier target. You're giving snipers and flankers free kills. And with how fast time to kill, TTK, is in CODM, you don't get second chances. Good players are always repositioning, always thinking about the next move. Sliding behind cover, jumping around corners, drop-shotting in gunfights, these aren't just flashy moves. They keep you alive. Let me give you a scenario. You're capturing a flag on domination. Most players go prone or stand still on the point. Wrong move. You're asking to get shot. Instead, move side to side. Peek different angles. Throw a trophy system or smoke. Give yourself options. And don't just move randomly. Be smart about it. Use cover. Cut off sightlines. If you kill someone in one spot, don't stay there waiting for the next guy. Rotate. Reposition. Confuse the enemy. The key to mobility is unpredictability. The less predictable you are, the harder you are to kill. Keep moving. Keep winning. Map awareness and lane control. Most Call of Duty mobile maps follow a 3-lane structure: left lane, middle lane, right lane. Understanding this is crucial if you want to stop dying so much. Here's why. Let's say you spawn on Nuketown. There's a left lane between houses, a middle lane through the bus and garages, and a right lane, alley lane. Most of the action happens in the middle lane. That's where the B flag is. That's where most gunfights go down. So if you rush middle every time, sure, you'll get some action, but you'll also get gunned down from multiple angles. Instead, think like this. Where is the enemy likely to be? What lanes have the least pressure? Where can I rotate to catch someone off guard? Flanking around the edge of the map often puts you behind the enemy. That means free kills. That means streaks. Use this mindset on every map. Whether it's high-rise, standoff, or firing range, there are always safer paths that lead to better positions. Don't just follow the crowd. Control a lane. Own that lane. Lock it down. When you own a lane, you can focus your attention and reduce your chances of being shot from behind or the side. That control wins games. Positioning and cover. Positioning wins fights before they even start. It's about using your environment to your advantage. Head glitches, boxes, cars, windows. If you're out in the open, you're not in control. Use cover to make yourself harder to hit. Peek corners intelligently. If you peek the same angle over and over, the enemy will pre-aim and beam you. So change it up. Left peek, right peek, jump peek. When you hold an angle, make sure you're not exposing your whole body. Only show what you need to. A shoulder, a head. That's it. Good positioning also means thinking ahead. Where will the enemy push from? What angles can they see you from? Where can you go if you miss your shots? Always have a plan B. Start thinking of every map like a chessboard. Every position you hold should give you more information, more cover, or a better shot. Game sense and prediction. This is where things get deep. Game sense is your ability to understand the flow of the match. It's knowing when to push, when to hold, when to rotate, and when to chip. If you just run forward every life, you're not thinking, you're feeding. Start watching the kill feed. Listen to footsteps. Pay attention to where your teammates are and where they died. If your entire team just died on the right lane, guess what? The enemy's coming from there. Don't run into it blindly. Set up. Watch that lane. Learn to predict spawns. CODM has very specific spawn logic. If you push too far into one side, you flip the spawns and suddenly the enemy is behind you. Use your minimap. Not just for red dots, but for teammate positions. If no one is watching mid, it's your job to hold that. Game sense comes from experience, but also from observation. Watch good players. See how they rotate, see how they position, copy that. Then make it your own. Gunfights and reaction time. Let's talk about actual gunfights. Your aim might be decent, but if your reactions are slow or your movement is off, you're still losing. Start pre-aiming. Don't wait to see an enemy to scope it. If you think someone's around a corner, ADS early. This gives you a massive advantage. Use audio cues. COD Mobley footsteps are loud. Use that to your advantage. Turn your volume up. Wear good headphones. If you hear someone coming, don't line up the shot. Be calm. Also, stop panic shooting. That's when you fire before aiming just because you got scared. It wastes bullets and tells the enemy where you are. Instead, practice centering. Keep your aim near the center of your screen and at head level. That way, when someone pops up, you're already aimed at them. Finally, use the right weapons for the right ranges. Don't challenge snipers with SMGs from across the map. Know your loadout. Play to its strengths. If you made it this far, that means you really care about getting better. And that's exactly the kind of mindset that turns good players into great ones. I recommend you watch one of these videos where I talk to
Getting results like this in ranked COD matches isn't as hard as you think. Trust me, it all comes down to one thing: the modes, and I don't mean the hacks. I mean ranked modes. Knowing the ranked modes and how to play them can be the difference between a casual gamer and the top 10 global ranked gamer. As of now, COD has a total of 6 multiplayer ranked modes: Hardpoint, Frontline, Search and Destroy, Team Deathmatch, Domination, and Control. Knowing the differences between how each ranked mode is played is extremely important. Trust me, shooting every pixel that dares to move does not guarantee the win. And if you watch to the end, I'll be sharing a trick that will allow you to control the enemy team like puppets. Okay, so let's get into it. Our first mode is Search and Destroy. Now, Search and Destroy has 2 main roles, each assigned to a different team. Your team can either be the attacker or defender. The attackers can only win the game by planting and blowing up one of the 2 planting sites or finishing everyone on the opposite team. And the defenders can only win by either defusing the bomb or finishing all the attackers before they plant. Now here is what most people forget. Search and Destroy has 5 rounds, and in each round, you have 1 life. If you get knocked down, you will have to wait for the next round to play. Now here are some tips I use to secure the win. Most people don't know this, or just keep forgetting that if you are playing attacker, you actually have a set time limit. If the timer runs out before you plant the bomb, you lose the round. So keep that in mind. If you are playing defense, on the other hand, you can actually use this against them by playing Tom and Jerry, by running around like a headless chicken to waste their time. Tip number 2 is faking a plant or defuse. In one-on-one situations, it can be risky to plant because you no longer have your gun while doing this. But faking the defuse or planting can trick the enemy to come and push you thinking you are a sighting duck, only to find you ready to chop their bosom. The next ranked mode is Frontline. This is the most basic ranked COD mode of them all. Here, the main objective of the team is to secure 40 kills by the end of the second round, or have more kills than the opposite team. Tips: try to move with your teammates, but don't be too close. This is so that in case one of your teammates is taken down, you will be right there to enact revenge and shine. The third ranked mode is Control. Control was added as a temporary ranked mode more than a week ago, and I can confidently say that this might be the best game mode out there. If you know how to play it well, for me at least, the goal of the game's to capture and hold 2 objectives in the map. The attacking team must capture both points to win a round within the time limit, while the defending team must prevent the attackers from doing so. You also have to keep in mind that both teams have a limited number of lives, and each player can only respawn up to 8 times. That brings us to another ranked mode hard point. Here the goal is to capture and hold the objective. For the objective to be held by a team, at least one of the teammates must be inside the objective for it to be in lockdown. It will reward the team with 1 point every second. Keep in mind that the hard point can also be contested by the enemy team, and no points are awarded during the contesting. Next ranked mode is Domination. Domination is a respawn game mode in which teams fight for control of 3 static objectives. Teams capture these objectives by standing on the flag. The more players in the point, the faster they capture it. Each captured flag gives a team 1 point every 5 seconds. That means if a team owns all 3 flags, they get 3 points every 5 seconds. While one team is capturing a point, the other team can jump into contestant. When the flag is contested, the capture progress will freeze until only one team is left standing on the flag. If the capture of an objective is interrupted, the objective retains its capture progress until the bar is depleted by the other team. Captured flags can also be neutralized by enemy players. Fully capturing an enemy flag takes a single player 10 seconds. However, if contested at the 5-second mark, the flag is neutralized and no points are awarded to either team until the flag is recaptured. A full match of domination is played across 2 6-minute rounds. At halftime, the flags reset and the teams spawn on the opposite side of the map from where they started. The team with the most points after the second half wins domination. Now for the last ranked mode, Team Deathmatch. And for this one, I will be revealing my top secret strategy for winning every match at the end. Okay, in Team Deathmatch, 2 teams compete to achieve the highest number of kills within a set time limit. The main goal is to outscore the opposing team by racking up more kills. Players respawn quickly after being eliminated, ensuring constant action and fast-paced gameplay. Now it is time for the secret trick I promised you, and that is spawns. If you didn't know, you can actually control where the enemy appears after you kill them, and if you are interested in learning that, spawning occurs when the map starts, and we respawn after dying in competitive game modes like Domination and Hardpoint. But how exactly does it work? And can we control spawns, or at least predict enemy spawns? All those questions will be answered in today's video. But for you to fully understand this, you need to know how the CODM ranked modes are supposed to be played, which I covered in a previous video. I'll link to it at the end. Anyways, a spawn is the point where the game loads a player into the match. To help you better visualize this, we'll be using the map Standoff as our reference point. These are the names of the areas in Standoff, and these are the spawn locations on the map. Different colors for each team. I'll keep them up here so you don't get lost. By the way, this is the first part of the video series explaining all ranked map spawns in CODM, so subscribe in order not to miss. Now, ranked spawns are mainly controlled by 2 things: player position and line of sight. How does player positioning affect ranked spawns in CODM? Take, for example, you're positioned at FAM. This will cause the enemy to spawn at back alley, gas station, or hay bale. As a known fact, enemies will not spawn at a known spawn point if you are directly looking at it. Now let's begin. The map we shall use to master spawns in this video is Standoff. It is divided into these invisible areas shown. Now, which area the play is in or enters is what we shall call positioning, and line of sight is just what the player can see on his screen. Now here is how we can use the 2 and annihilate the enemy team. Now let's take, for example, a 1 versus 1 scenario: team subscribers versus team non-subs. Both teams spawn at the starter spawns A and B and start to push each other through mid-street, and non-subs takes down subs at mid-statue. The game will try to look for the safest and most fair spawn point for subs to respawn. Think of it like this. The game divides the map into 2 and picks the farthest spawn point from the enemy and checks if someone is looking at it directly. If not, then team subs will respawn there. In this case, it might pick the spawn points at Haystack, behind Blue House, and Black Ally. And by the way, if you think this video is of value and you want to help Team Sub make a comeback, don't be shy to hit that sub button. is free, and you can always unsubscribe. Anyways, here is how you can try to predict where the player you killed will respawn as a beginner. After you kill an enemy, imagine a line across the map where you knocked him or her, and just push it slightly to the larger side of the map. Now the side that you are on is the friendly area, and the other side is enemy territory. And to know where he will spawn, you just have to know the spawn points on the enemy side and pick the one that is mostly covered by buildings or walls. Note that the area they will respawn should not be overlapping our imaginary line. A good way to practice is using the multiplayer's single-player practice mode to master the spawn points without losing rank. In order to speed up your learning curve, I have designed a PDF that contains most of the known spawn points, and best part, it's completely for free in my Discord. Here are some more additional tips. Okay, for the start, set the bot parameters to idle. So when they respawn, they don't move away from their spawn position. Do this until you start to almost accurately guess their spawn position or spawn area. Now, mastering spawns without knowing how to predict the enemy team's gameplay is what separates noobs from pro league players. Now let's see the most likely route team subs would have taken to capture the hard point. Let's say the hard point is a yard. There are 3 entry points into the hard point, through hotel and the 2 exits at yard. Now in most cases, the players will always choose the shortest way to the hard point, which in this case is the yard exit next to yellow. Now that you have this information, we have to position ourselves properly and wait to make them chew our hardcore bullets. Now, if you are playing with a full team, here is when things get interesting, because with a bit of teamwork and good communication, you can start to play like hackers on steroids. All you have to do is position yourselves properly in order to manipulate the enemy team's spawns and funnel them in like they came to collect breakfast. Now don't take my word for it, this same strategy was used by Tribe Gaming to secure their spot in the championship. Even they knew that a gameplay like this one is unbeatable. Let's look at Drive Gaming's gameplay and how they control spawns. From the COD Mobile Masters Finals, where they secure their spot for the 2021 World Championships in their loser bracket final against NYSL Mayhem. Even before the match started, casters talked about crossfire domination and the importance of having as your home flag for an easier overall control of the map while being able to protect the B flag if you happen to capture it, whoever has
Charlie wins the game. It's very rare for you to actually win the game.
If you are going to be on that A side, it's just a matter of take note that Tribe had the A flag, essentially giving them top spots at the starting round. Observe how NV managed to creep onto broken building, trying to get that control. These spawns got flipped due to multiple factors. Watch how Tribe essentially has control of central building and shortcut around the B flag with NV at laundry, almost near broken building band, actually spawned near them after dying on mid lane Nero, crossing that imaginary line on top of Office and Tribe, eliminating 3 of the NYSL members, causes all of them to spawn near Office, and Lounge shouts, makes his way through Butchers to pinch Sassy and finally secure that C flag, essentially giving them map control throughout the first round. Great execution by Tribe to manipulate the spawns in their favor. This is a great example of how positioning and objectives affect where teams spawn. Tribe had a great understanding of that, and made sure they won their gunfights on their way to claim the area they wanted to control. Of course, behind this great team is a great coach that gave them guidance. And if you want to learn how to position yourselves, like the way Tribe did, I recommend this video where I go through player positioning and best loadouts for each game mode and map. Anchor, Support, Slayer, and Objective. These are the 4 primary roles you can play in competitive Call of Duty Mobile. Today, we're going to learn how to execute each role effectively. But for your team to win against the sweatiest players, you have to know how to manipulate spawns. And speaking of spawns, we have our first role, the Anchor. His main job is to make sure his teammates get the best spawns during a match, depending on the current or next hardpoint hill. This is the guy you usually see alone, holding an area, and these areas are usually spawn points. In other words, he makes sure you spawn near the hardpoint. But to play this role well, you have to understand how spawns work. Click the link in the top corner if you want to master spawns. The next role in COD Mobile is OBJ. Most people think the OBJ's job is just to sit in the hill, chill in the corner, and vibe. But nope, not at all. An objective player's main role is to win gunfights inside the hill and stay alive. In other words, they're supposed to annihilate any intruders and not die in the process. You might think it's one of the easiest jobs, but it's actually one of the most important, because you can't win without this role. Here's how to get better at it. First, you'll need a friend. If you don't have one, join my Discord. After that, create a private room and pick a map. In this case, we're going with Standoff. Now get into the hard point and have your friend push it. Do this to find out all the entry points and practice flicking to them. You also need to know how to clear enemies out of the hard point. Personally, I use a flash grenade and shadow blade to wipe it clean. The OBJ player doesn't just sit around and chill. Nope. In domination, you'll often see them initiating captures and keeping enemies off the flag. If you're playing this role in COD Mobile, you'll be fighting in short, medium, and long-range scenarios, so you'll need a versatile loadout. Here's what mine looks like. Now let's talk about everyone's dream role, the Slayer. This role is usually given to the team's best player, someone who racks up kills and has the freedom to roam the map, cutting off enemy routes in unpredictable ways. In short, the Slayer's job is to be extremely annoying. Be that guy who makes people rage quit. Here's how to play it better. Look at the map you're playing on and figure out all the routes to the hard point. Pick the shortest and go wipe bosoms. Just kidding. Go wipe enemies. Pro tip. If you notice the enemy is taking too long to show up, chances are they're rotating or trying to flank. Keep switching up your routes. If you're playing this role, you need to have the best aim and best movement on your team. Not only that, you have to play based on what your team needs. For the loadout, just stick to whatever's meta at the time. Next up, the support player. Their job is to fill in the gaps, so basically you're everyone's bitch. Just kidding. But to play this role perfectly, you need to be able to play all the other roles we've talked about. Not just that, you also need to know which of the roles needs more support at any given time for the team to win. Take this scenario. Let's say the OBJ player is down and the hard point is taken. But as you go to help, the anchor also gets knocked. Your decision here is key. You can either try to retake the hard point or secure a good spawn location. If the hard point had just reset, I'd go for the retake. But if there are less than 15 seconds left and the next hill is about to pop and the anchor is down, then I'd support the anchor so the team can spawn near the next hard point and take control more easily.
This is firing range, and this tiny section of the map right here might be the reason why you keep getting spawn trapped in ranked. But fear not, because I have developed a simple 3-step anchor system that will help you predict spawn. So how does the game pick where to spawn the enemy after he gets killed? Think of it like this. For a split second, the game actually doesn't want you to die. So when an enemy dies, the game will look for the safest position that is the farthest from your teammates and you. Okay, now that we know how spawns work, let's get into step 1 of mastering spawns and firing range. And the first thing you're going to need to learn will be zoning. See, Call of Duty Mobile has thousands of spawn positions on every single map, but none of that actually matters because of what I'm about to teach. And for this, all you need to know are the 2 main spawns. Yeah, that is spawn A and spawn B. If you know the 2 main spawns, you already know 2 of the zones, and the 3rd zone is no man's land. So with these 3 zones, we already know all the possible places the game can choose to spawn the enemy. But there's a small twist. We already know the rules the game follows in order to spawn the enemy in a certain position. So how can we use that to our advantage? And that brings us to the second stage, which is anchoring. If you're new to the channel or you just don't know what anchoring is, I made a video that explains in detail about anchoring and a few other roles you can play in Call of Duty Mobile. I'll link it somewhere on the screen right now. Anyways, In order for you to properly maintain a team spawn trap, you also have to control where your teammates are. But enough with the chattering, let's actually get into the spawn trapping. Remember the 3 zones I told you about? Here's what you're going to do. If you're playing solo with randoms, you're going to have to check which of the 3 zones are your teammates in, because we are going to need to control 2 of those zones. And this is how you're going to do that. Make sure you have at least 2 teammates in the 2 zone. Once your teams are in the zones, the next thing you're going to have to do to activate the spawn trap. Now, to activate the spawn trap, your team has to kill at least 2 of the enemies. Okay, now once that is done, the teammates at the no man's land zone are going to have to move to power positions. What do I mean by power positions? Places with head glitches, cover positions, and choke funnels. Now, I get it, Call of Duty Mobile sometimes gives us the worst of teammates, so if you need teammates to play with, we are currently at 20 people on my Discord, so you can hit any of those guys up. They are good players, trust me. But if that sounds like a lot of work for you, I have good news. You are going to have to be the slayer of that team. So here's what you're going to do. At no man's land, you're going to have to kill everything that moves and has a red dot on its shoulder. This should be fairly easy at this point because you know where they're coming from, you know the routes they're going to take. But if you don't know the routes they're going to take, these are the routes people usually take. And these are the power positions for each of those routes. Now, starting a team spawn trap is the easy part. The hard part is actually maintaining the spawn trap. And here's the thing, once you start the spawn trap and you start getting in that rush of kills, we most times forget this part. Yeah, but you are not supposed to over push. In other words, do not cross to their zone. But that is only half of it. And for you to properly control a spawn trap, there is one extra thing you have to do, and that brings us to the 3rd step: controlling team placement. Now, if you're unlucky enough and you got teamed up with bots, they are not going to know what it is you're trying to do. So how do we make sure they do not fudge up our spawn trap? See, the thing is, some of our teammates might end up actually dying, but remember, we know how spawns work. So as long as you have at least 2 teammates in each of the zones, don't worry about it, the spawn trap is still on. But now let's flip the thing on its head. Now it's you who has been spawn trapped. How do you go about it? Now that's another story on its own, and that's why it deserves its own video. So in my next video, I'm going to be talking about that and a little bit more. I'll be talking about the power positions I mentioned, the choke points, the head glitches, and all that and more. So if you don't want to miss out on that, be sure to hit the subscribe button, join the Discord if you want to train with real players and master spawns.
Game sense is a skill that separates an average player from the top-tier gamers. Not because it's a hard skill to master, but because the top-tier gamers are gatekeeping how you can develop your game sense. This is because game sense is probably the most important skill you can develop in any game, and also, it might be the only trick up their sleeves that they have against you. And I'm going to be showing you exactly how you can develop your game sense. And if you stick to the end of the video, I'll be sharing with you something that will help you speed up the process of you developing your game sense and other skills that are really necessary in becoming a better or a pro player. Not only in Call of Duty Mobile, but in any fast-paced, competitive shooting game. Okay, the first step in mastering game sense in Call of Duty Mobile is knowing the map you're playing. And I don't just mean knowing the names of the maps you play. What I mean by knowing the maps is you should know things like the main routes in the map. For example, in Call of Duty Mobile, every map is divided into at least 3 routes. There is the middle route, or the main route. Then there are the 2 routes on the side. There's the left and the right route. Knowing these routes will let you know where most enemies will be passing through, and when you know where the enemies are passing through, you can position yourself properly so that when they appear on your screen, you send them straight back to their spawn or straight back to their lobby. Once you have mastered the routes in each map you play or the maps you mainly play, the next thing you should do is you should know where the cover points in the map you're playing are and memorize them. One way you can do this is by using the practice mode in Call of Duty Mobile. To access this practice mode, click the normal multiplayer match Then, at the bottom right, where you select maps from, click that icon just above the Start Match button. Then, on your left, there is an option of practice. When you click that, then here is where most people get lost. Instead of just hoping to the practice ground, search for single-player practice against AI. It's to the right. Then you select the mode you want to learn. When you select the mode you want to learn, there is an option for selecting the map you want to learn also. So you go, select the map you want to learn, and then launch the match. Now here is where you need to pay close attention. First of all, look for this wrench icon depending on how you organized your HUD. Click on it and make sure you set the bot parameter to idle. If you don't do this, the bot will be a real pain in your bosom. Now this is where the real learning starts, and how fast you are able to do this will dictate how fast you are able to master game sense in Call of Duty Mobile. Now this stage is going to be split into 3 stages: exploration, memorization, and practice, EMP in short. The first stage, in my opinion, is the easiest stage, because all you have to do in this stage is explore the map. And I don't mean the normal exploration of just moving around. What I mean is try to find hidden paths, try to find spots you can climb that other people don't know that it can be climbed. Find spots that people don't know you can pass through. It could be a window that you could jump to the other side. It could be a fence. It could be a staircase. Anything. Now, once you feel you've done that extensively, the next part is to memorize those routes you have discovered, those climbable points that you have discovered. Memorize them and learn to use them. This stage will literally depend on your brain power and how fast your memory is and how good your memory is. A trick I can give you to help you memorize this better is screen record yourself while you are exploring, while you are discovering. And just to help you guys out, I have gone ahead and documented all these routes and all these spots, and I will only be sharing them only on my Discord server once we reach around 10 to 15 people. The reason why I choose 10 to 15 people is because I want you guys to have someone to practice with when you eventually develop the game sense, and it should be a worthy opponent. Anyways, on to the next stage, which is the practice stage. This is where everything is going to start to flow and click in place, unlike my failed attempts of making it as a YouTuber, haha lol. For the start, if you're already good at the game, I would recommend you just hop onto a live match and start playing. But if you're not that good at the game yet, what I recommend is remember that wrench icon. Now, this is where we're going to set the bot parameters. This time, the parameters are going to be a little bit different. We are going to set the bot parameter to easy and the bot count to only 1. For now. Remember the cover points I told you to master in the map you wanted to master? You are going to use that, plus the new routes you have uncovered in that very map, and you are going to try to outmaneuver the bot. Here is how you use those 2 things to improve game sense. The first thing you are going to train is your cover instinct. I'm going to go through cover instinct in the next video, but I'm going to give you a brief walk down on how you can practice it as well. What I want you to do is every time you see a cover, I want you to slide to it and aim in a direction where you think an enemy will be. If you spot an enemy and it's not looking direct at you, slide to cover, then shoot at them. You are going to practice those 2 tips until you are comfortable with that bot stage. Then you move on to the next stat T stage, which will be medium, then hard, then very hard, until you finish all the stages. And once you are done with that, the last thing you're going to practice is getting the upper hand. You're going to do this by waiting for the bot to start shooting at you, and once you deal damage, you're going to move around and use cover and the routes you found out to escape. And since you already know where the bot is, you're going to use the routes you know to attack the bot from angles it does not expect you to. Once you practice this enough, I guarantee you that your gameplay is going to be way better than it was before, and you're going to be better than 90% of the players in Call of Duty Mobile. If this helped even a little, drop a like. It helps push this out to others trying to level up like you. And if you want to practice these drills with a squad instead of bots, join the Discord. I'm dropping exclusive map routes there. Also, if you thought this was helpful, wait till you see what I've got on Cover Instinct. That one tip saved me from dying 10 times in a single match. I'm not even exaggerating. Hit subscribe or check the playlist linked below if it's already out.